Me, the guys with the five eyes that you see. And on this episode, for fun, I'm going to make sure to make it a point to probably try to make episodes at least 15 minutes. Um, I like to really speak about my mind about a lot of things. I think sometimes it's a bit boring when I go over 30 minutes on every video. I'm gonna try to see if I can leave those subjects for more thought out discussions. But what I'm going to discuss today is the obsession Black Americans have with the dollar and how it's detrimental to them because of its lowering value. So we're going to start off looking at blackdemographics.com, and we're going to see that the median income for most Black people, and the Black family median income is about 49,000, which is pretty decent. Married couple family income is about 74,000, which is pretty good. If you look here though, the female householder income is 31, males 41. So there's about $10,000 difference, and that mostly comes from males being more willing to do harder work with higher pay. So that usually comes to a lot of blue collar trades, being like plumbers, electricians, fishermen, a lot of those things. And that's why the disparity between women isn't as great as the disparity between men, because a lot of men in other races, well, I guess we could go with white, they tend to have most of the managerial jobs that also come with that and everything, and tend to be in higher places. But it's the difference between Black men and women, it's almost the same as between other races of people. But between the men and the women, the disparity is surprisingly greater. Wonder why. Um, but another thing I really want to look at is like the poverty rates, because when we talk about why Black people are obsessed with dollars, the main reason is because a lot of Black people either live in poverty or they live in the kind of households where even if they do have money, um, a lot of the households do not really. It's all about having a job. It's never really about having proper savings and asset allocation. So a lot of these households fall into poverty, or a lot of Black kids growing up still restricted from the kind of things that they may want and need, because even though their parents aren't poor, they don't really have enough to give them, like, to spoil them or anything like that. And if you look here, the Black household income definitely went up in the 90s, but as you can see, it's been trending downwards. you know and also the money here, when this is just the dollar value, but to be quite frank, because of inflation, these periods here are probably a bit more equal to these periods here. So we really haven't improved that much, and because we're going down from these levels, we may be going down from these levels to a degree. I'd say really from the 60s to 70s is probably the era most Black people were doing bad, but 80s to 90s is probably the better times because of better technology and better services, more income, more business going on in America. But a big thing we gotta look at is poverty, Black poverty, because that's where, ironically, a lot of Black culture stems out of. Because if we keeping it honest, the entertainment culture of America, of Black Americans, is essentially what we've come to accept as our culture. You know, hip hop, uh, actors, musicians, all of that. That's pretty much our culture. And as you can see here, the Black poverty rate has gone down. Obama did a pretty good job of that after Bush crashed their economy, but because of COVID and everything, it's about to go up. And because COVID basically brought the economic crisis here quicker than they expected, it's probably going to go up and up, especially under Biden. Especially if he wants to tax the rich the way he wants to tax. A lot of them are going to do a lot. It's going to be white flight like you've never seen before. And with most of the businesses being destroyed, most of the businesses that employ people, which are small businesses, I really just don't see. I just see poverty going back up into this range plus. And the thing about poverty is, if we're going to keep it truthful, a lot of the poverty in America as you can see, 32% of black children are in poverty compared to about 22.5%, which I'd have to assume is mostly like including adults or maybe adults when they say that. Most of these kids come from this right here, females with no spouse. Because as you see, the percent of our black families are 18.5, but married couples are 6.7, because it's very important when two people can put their incomes together and they know how to financially stabilize themselves and improve themselves. Then, because you're a couple, when you're a married couple, you are one entity. That's what you're trying to be. So two people with 40,000 coming together is the same. It should basically be about the same as one person making 80,000. So when you guys are on the same track, you essentially can decide things like you make $80,000. But females with no spouse is 30.6%, and that number jumps up to 39% of female households in poverty with children. And if you look here at this statistic, you will see that 74% of females, as like with the householder, and when it says black families, I'm pretty sure this goes back to the stat, including children. 74% of the households with women leading the household of black families are at or below the poverty level. Only 10% when it comes to males. 16% of married families. And if you see here, think about it. These stats flip, but what stays the same? Male households. Why? Because for the most part, most men don't have kids. We're like in the 40 to 50 percentile where like the amount of black males out there with no children. So actually no, I think it's in the 50 something plus. And with less and less people having sex these days and our population actually remaining a bit stagnant, essentially most black men don't have children. If you look at the statistics for black women, and I won't try to find them here because I don't want to make the video too long. But that's why you can go on the site for yourself. I'll link it down below. I'm saying YouTube terminologies. Link it down below. I think it's up in the 60. I don't think quite 70, because that might be, but it might be possible. It's anywhere from like the mid 60s to lower 70% of black women out there do have children. And if we're going to keep it kind of honest, anecdotally, we can see this. Most of the black men I know, my friends, my family, they don't have children. But only a few do. And when it comes to my inner circle of me and my three like closest cousins, one had a kid, but the girl didn't tell him. But he had a kid. So he does have a kid. But he probably wouldn't if that girl wouldn't be so scandalous with it. And the other one has 4 to 5 baby mamas. I say 4 to 5 because it's 4 confirmed, but we really don't know how many are out there. When I think about the amount of girls I know with children, oh my lord, it flips over completely. I'm not going to put too much information out there, but for the sake of this example, just to bring home my point, my fiance's sister got pregnant last year around December. No, not around December. And beforehand, around the fall. And it's kind of crazy because I literally just met my fiance. I met her last year, and within a couple months of knowing her, her sister ends up pregnante. You know. I also had a friend who I kind of sort of dated for like a month or so, but it just wasn't the best idea. Some people you just don't date. Some people you stay friends with them. And about a year after I had met up with her back when I was living in DC, after I moved down here in Florida, she also got pregnant. Her sister also got pregnant. If I can keep going, a lot of the girls I went to high school with, a lot of them ended up pregnant, and most of the dudes still do not have children. And granted, I will say this, if they're doing well as a mother and they have family at least there to that can actually provide support for the child, then I think it's okay. But if we're keeping it honest, though, a lot of them are single mothers. That's what I don't find okay. Even if it may hurt their feelings. It's just the truth. You're better off raising your child with the father. Because that's what the child wants in the first place. We all want our mommies and daddies to be together. It just creates a safer environment for us. And it's also much easier to maintain focus. And also easier for you guys to raise us. Why am I saying you guys like my friends are about to be my mama? For us to raise our children. And just take another look at this level. So what this shows is that most of the poor children in America, most of the poor black children, in America, are growing up under women. Okay, and we go back to the statistic, 30% of females with no spouse in America are living at or above the poverty level. And I know they will like to make you think that this is, and no, they would think this is the direct stat of like, in general, black families, black people as a whole, But these reports always have underreporting, and they get their reports mainly from the census. Source, U.S. Census Bureau. See, yes, they get these from the U.S. Census Bureau, and the U.S. Census Bureau likes to underreport things like this going on. So when they show these numbers, you got to think of them as higher, because in this country, our economy has been crap ever since 2007. And so when we look at these, honestly, you can add a 5 to 10%. So really, almost half of the women in America with children are probably living at or below the poverty rate. And this is why we have, in our culture, such an obsession with money. Because if you look at these guys, man grew up poor. I'm not sure if he grew up, Floyd Mayweather grew up poor. 50 Cent grew up incredibly poor. Black Youngster grew up poor. I think this Future, same thing. Young Dolph, same thing. Whoever this ugly looking dude, same thing. Moneybag Yo. I mean, his name is Moneybag Yo. That's how addicted to money he is. They got 13 rappers on this, and as I said before, this rap music is black culture, pretty much, because this is what a lot of us since most of us do come from poor, bad economic backgrounds, and that's where rap essentially breeds itself from. This is black culture. Let's just be honest. And we have these obsessions because we grow up in such intense environments, home environments, where black people either have nothing or they don't have most of the things they will like. Whether it's getting or giving. Whether it's the children wanting something or the parents wanting to give their children more. It's just simply now on the table for a lot of black people. And when we look at money, black people, it's not money, dollars. When we look at fiat dollars, black people see that as the key to salvation, the key to getting everything you want. Because when you use these bills, you can buy jewelry, cars, houses, all of that. That's what they think, and that's the level they think at. But I want you to look here again at the income demographics again. Ask yourself, why is it that there is a lot of homeless, poor, white people in America? How come they still earn more than us? And what a lot of you would like to say is, because they get the better jobs and they just get given jobs because of, one guy's just like, here's my son, haha, and he has a job. No, it's because these other people and cultures, they understand the importance of proper asset allocations and savings. That's why they make double what we make. Because they know how to properly invest their money for the most part. The ones that do make money. They know how to invest. They know how to keep their money in the ETFs and having savings funds. That's what the 401ks were for and everything like that. And they understand the importance of hedging their money with silver and gold. With the people involved in Bitcoin, most of the people involved in Bitcoin at this point are Central Americans, Asians, and white people. Okay? That's most of the people involved in Bitcoin. So most of the sectors and wherein year. But black people, because we come from intense, poor conditions, we can only think of getting the money to spend to get the things we want because we're so deprived of what we want. That's one of the issues. We don't really think about saving because our parents were never able to save because they had to feed us. If they saved, that means we go hungry. Or they didn't have the money anyway, so we went hungry and there's no savings. And so when a lot of black people do get money, they spend the money, and because of that, they're stuck. They basically are stuck in the mindset. They have a poor mindset where they act like they're still poor. So they spend and spend because they're just so happy to get to this point where they can have these things. They don't really consider the implications of what happens when you have a currency that is constantly devalued and you still do nothing with it. You know? Let's see if I can keep going further because I know I was in something else. One thing I want to basically cap this all off. Let's look value of dollar loss chart. Inflation calculator. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's see. Okay, this is it. So this isn't really a completely, doesn't have all the numbers in this chart, but it does show you the dollar loss in value throughout the years. Basically, 90% since 1950, 97% since 1913 when the Fed was instituted and started printing the hell out of our money, especially since from the 70s, because if you see this drop from the 70s, it drops tremendously because we got taken off the gold standard. Long story short, your dollars, your fiat money is not worth anything. That's why I preach having Bitcoin, gold, and silver, because those are the quickest assets that black people can get, and they're also the most liquid assets that they can get. Because real estate tends to not be liquid. Stocks and ETFs, when you trade those, you usually have to wait a certain period of business days, and even especially with real estate, you can be waiting months to years before you sell your real estate or before you buy your real estate because of the upfront costs and everything that comes around with that. We black people have to let go of the concept of currency, fiat dollars, being what makes you rich and wealthy. It is not what makes you wealthy. It may be what makes you rich because being rich is just having a lot of dollars. So even when you're six figures, 90, 75K, you're rich. But when you're wealthy people have assets that continue to give them value and give them profits, even if they may lose and have down years. It's the fact that it's bringing money in without them having to do anything. Rich people work for their money. Wealthy people, their money works for them. Black people, we have the mindset of working for money. We do not have the proper mindset of getting money to work for us. That also includes hedging. Even with silver and gold. Silver and gold are definitely going to make profits for a lot of people, especially me, because they're undervalued. And when the dollar collapses, they are going to have to increase in value because people are going to have to go back to that standard. And also people are going to reinvest heavily into it, thus increasing the value. But at the same time, they're mainly used for holding your value and holding your wealth there. And Bitcoin is going to do the same thing, along with Ethereum and many staking coins, and then other coins in the space that will increase value. Black people want the money for things. They do not want the cash to improve themselves and to collect other assets, which will bring them up socioeconomically. We don't think like this. And the best way we can change this is we have to get married. We have to start families, and we have to stop having children too early. Black men have to just stop nutting up in women and trying their best not to produce seeds. Black women also have to practice self-control and stop trying to have sex like men. That's how you end up getting pregnant, because there's that factor in there that, at least you not really caring about what you're doing with your body because you're exposing it to these men and they're getting you pregnant, which is very dangerous because, as we know, black women also suffer the worst kind of child care, health care when it comes to that, which is why you guys you have more fatal births than all the other races of women. So it's also very dangerous for you to have a pregnancy that you don't warrant. And as we know, having kids early in broken households is the main factor of poverty for black people now. It is no longer white supremacy or anything like that. There's nobody burning up our stores and everything unless it's a riot, but we'll talk about that in another video. When we have children too early, it takes us out the race and we can no longer afford to create money for ourselves. We have to go obtain fiat to survive for the children. And then that also leads to the children being deprived of what they need to grow properly, and thus leads to them becoming criminals and drug addicts in droves. And thus you create a cycle of poverty which people don't escape. But I know a lot of black people won't do that. So this message is for the black people who either have the knowledge of this kind of stuff, who are on the cusp of it, like you're new to the space, you're new to the crypto space, you're new to stocks, you're new to these kind of things. And black people that are looking for an escape from the chaos that is their family. Reminding you, I'm giving you a reminder. Control yourself sexually. Control your desires of what you want. Control yourself financially. That's what being silver pilled is all about. When you get married with someone that you really love and also are able to create a franchise, a socioeconomic franchise with yourself, and you also have the discipline to have children when you truly can afford them, then you're on the path to prosperity. Whether or not you become rich or wealthy, the fact is, you want to have enough to take care of yourself, your family, and then when it's your time to pass on, you leave something there for your child, which is a bonus because you want to also teach them to be able to do things like you and better. But we have to let go of this notion of dollars being valuable. No, none of this. None of this. None of this. Okay? Because you know what this is going to turn into? Let's see. I gotta look at it. Bolivar. I think that's what it's called. I was looking at something. It was like a big stack of these Venezuelan. There it is, right there. That's what that leads to. You need these many Venezuelan bolivars just to buy a whole chicken. Okay? This much money to buy a roll of toilet paper. That's what American fiat leads to. You see all that? You see all that? That looks like a money phone, don't it? That those rappers you just saw were doing. That looks just like a money phone. That's what money inevitably looks like and turns into. That's what fiat turns into. You can do that with a bar of silver. But hey, at least that bar of silver is going to hold itself. And again, a 10 ounce bar of silver. Actually, no, it's like a kilo. What, 10 kilos is like $10,000 something or whatever? Man, look at all them paper. Look at all that paper. It's ridiculous. Let go of this notion that your fiat currency is worth that when it's really going to be worth this. Just leave this image in your mind. Keep this image in your mind. This is what you consider money is. This is what currency is. This is what dollars are. This is what they inevitably all end up being worth. Nothing. Because if a slice of bread is worth this much in Venezuelan dollars, what does that tell you about the Venezuelan bolivar? It's worth nothing. But what does that tell you about when fiat currencies are not tied to anything and you can print them to infinity? There is no inherent value in that because it takes no kind of work, nor does it take any kind of capital to produce. And black people do not produce a lot of capital in the first place. So it makes sense why we love this. versus gold, silver, Bitcoin, and other kind of assets. Okay? So get yourself some gold, get yourself some silver, get yourself some Bitcoin. Because I'm going to end it off with this. Saving your money, no, saving your currency does nothing. Because your currency is inflated at about 10 to 22% per year. So when you save that currency, you are losing money year to year to year to year. You are much better off putting your money into other assets, even stocks. You know, but for black people, saving your money, best bets are gold and silver, and to invest and increase your money and also act as a hedge, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Whatever else you do after that, that's on you. You gotta do your own research. Either way, I'm out. Woo!